Hey everyone, welcome back to Accur8vision tutorial videos. Today we are going to learn how to add in the real Lidar. Now that you have everything completed virtually, you're going to want to add everything into the real environment. To do this, you will just click and add. Let's see what my colleague Lukasz is working on today.
Before you add the Lidars inside Accur8vision, you will need to set them up. Most of the Lidar we use will have a default IP address. You will need to open your internet browser and type in the default IP address provided by the manufacturer for the Lidar. For this example, we will use Velovine. Here's where you will find the information on the Lidar. You will want to make sure that the lasers are on, the return type is set to strongest, motor RPM is 600, and the FOV is 0 for start and 359 for end. Next, you will check the PPS qualifier and GPS qualifier. The important section is the host destination and network sensor area. Under the host destination, you will need the IP address, data port, and telemetry port. The data port is always 2368. Under network sensor, you will need to know the IP address and the mask number and gateway. When you have these numbers, click on Set for both boxes, then click on Save Configuration. Under System, you can update the firmware and reset the system. Under Info, you can find everything you need on the Lidar. The FPGA information is something to pay attention to as it tells you the hardware and software versions you are on. Under the Diagnostics tab, you can see the performance of the Lidar. You will want to copy or write down the IP address under Network to use later in Accur8vision. You are now ready to install your Lidar into Accur8vision. To add the real Lidar, you will click on Settings, Hardware Tree, Lidars, and the Add button. Under Type, you will have Real. Choose the Lidar that you want to add. Enter the Lidar IP address from what you set up previously. And add in the name and description of the Lidar. The Power Saving Enable button allows the Lidars to go to sleep. Click Apply. If everything is correct, this area here will all say On. These are the IP addresses for the security boxes. Here's the range, the beam distribution, picture of the Lidar, manufacturer information, and the logo. Once you are satisfied, click Apply, exit Settings, and OK. Back on the main screen, click on Settings, Editor, Layers icon, and click on Lidar so the Lidar will be seen. Click out of Layers and click on the Add button, Lidar, and OK. From the top view, click anywhere on the screen to add in the Lidar. The white dots that you see are real Lidar points. Once you locate the Lidar, you can use the arrows to move the Lidar around. Here you will find the Lidar name, description, and XYZ position. You can use the rotation dials to change the Lidar. But don't forget that the Y-axis is elevation, and if you have something already in the real environment, place the Lidar on the ground and only add to the Y-axis. This makes a lot of things easier. It is very important to make sure that you can see all the white dots. These are the real points from the real Lidar in the real world. You will need to match up the points so they match with the items in the map. As you can see, we obviously have the top of the crafter visible here. We will line up the top of the crafter so that everything in our 3D map matches everything in the real world. You will want to get this as exact as possible, so please take your time and make sure that everything lines up. Once you are satisfied, you can click on View Limit number 1 to see how far you can see with this Lidar. Go to Layers and click on Lidar Limit. As you can see, no green light appears. This is only a problem because we don't have our effective range filled in. Once we entered in the effective range, we had the Lidar limit. Use the dials to rotate the view limit. Everything in green is what the LiDAR will see. Click off No View Limit to have full LiDAR range. Click on the Layers button and turn off the LiDAR limit. The clustering scale. Before I go into this more, you will also need the information from the real zone clustering numbers. The 10 cluster minimum points count is important when working with the LiDAR clustering scale. When finding the ratio of clustering points, you will want to use the number 10 because it is what you have in the real zone clustering setting. For example, on the first line under distance, I could put 20 meters with a scale integrator of 2. I would then take the number of 10 minimum points count and divide it by 2. This means that at 20 meters, I will need a minimum of 5 points clustered together to make a bounding box that will activate the alarm inside the zone. But don't worry about this. It will get easier and easier with time, though, don't worry. There will be a time where you have more than one LiDAR that you will need to calibrate. To do this, you will first need to add in the 2 LiDARs. In this example, we have already added in the LiDAR. Click on Editor, Add, and LiDAR. Make sure that you can see all the points of the LiDAR. You don't want to have any points below the map. You will again line up something that you know will match. Since these are real LiDAR points, it will match something in the real environment, which you can then match in your 3D map. You will want to have a helper go and stand between the 2 LiDARs. This will help you make sure that the LiDARs are matched perfectly. If they are not, you will see 2 people instead of 1. This is something that we definitely don't want to have, so you're going to know that the LiDARs need a little bit more adjusting. You can also check it by having your helper stand with his arms raised. Have them walk a little bit, and if you see only 1 person, then you are all set to go.
Okay, you're all set. And now on to the next tutorial video.